Hello, welcome back to Carl's Koi Care, CKC. Today I want to talk about your pond setup in basic form. Things like covering your pond, having a roof over it is perhaps just a minimum, even if you don't want a full koi house setup. The reasons why you would cover a pond, and also about incoming water. I've already given a clue there because any roof cover or pergola system with a roofing system on it of the aerial covertherm, for example, is going to prevent rainwater going directly into your pond. And there are reasons why you perhaps want to stop that and control it. I'll explain why in a second. And we've also got then the tap water that we will regularly replace into our ponds, say on a weekly basis throughout the summer months. You would be doing a 10% water change on a weekly basis whilst you're cleaning your filters out with pond water, etc. I'll explain why shortly as well, that we do these water changes and top up with fresh water on a small and frequent basis, and the necessity for doing that. But first of all, my koi house, as you can see, I built this so that it's not just got a roof over it, but it's got all the side walls deliberately, and it's aerial covertherm. I've used the very thick, excuse me, out of view there for a second, used a very thick aerial covertherm, both for the roof and for the walls, and it keeps it totally insulated. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm heated. I've got a big air source heat pump that I run, sort of just at the top end there, sort of outside really from here. And yeah, I've built a koi house over all of my filter systems, both at one end and a little extension at the other end, because I added more filters as time has gone on, and this also acts to keep it insulated. But for the purpose of today's video, even if you just had a pergola system and it was still sort of open for you to view from, say, you enjoy from your patio and look over the garden and see your pond and see the fish in it, I get that totally. But to just have a roof over the top of it, a lot of koi owners will have a pergola system with the thin sheeting aerial covertherm, which will just act as a roof, and it'll prevent rainwater getting in there. And the reason I'd suggest you don't want rainwater going into your pond, a few things. You don't know what the pH of that water will be, rainwater at any given point in time. If it's been a thunder and lightning episode, you'll probably find the pH is quite low, and that's going to cause a pH crash if there's too much of that going in your pond. The other thing, if you can recall last summer, I think around July time, we had a heavy rainfall and it left traces of sand dust all over vehicles and windows, and again, you don't really know where that rain clouds have passed and the geography of where they've been to inherit that sort of sand within the rainwater that comes down. You could probably think it's come from the Sahara Desert, and think of the distance it might have travelled and places it might have gone over on its way to raining in your garden. So yeah, rainwater is a very unknown element, both pH and furthermore the contents that's in it, and we can see quite clearly when we have those episodes and we've got cars covered in sand that rainwater can be travelling in all different places, and we're just really dealing with unknowns. So if you've got a roof over your pond, as a bare minimum, you're still open on the sides, you can see straight to your pond from wherever you are in the garden. I get that, but it's a really good measure. Let's move on to tap water, and let's discuss the basic things that we can do also to try and help out. We all know that tap water's got chlorine in it. Basic, simple method, if you've just got a garden tap and a hose pipe and you've got no purification systems for your tap water, then to hold the hose pipe so it goes up and falls back down into the pond. Maybe put your thumb over the end of the hose and really get a sort of a jet blast going, and even jet it onto the surface of the pond and shake it so that you bubble the surface of the pond and get a lot of air dispersion, surface exchange of dissolved oxygen then content into your pond. That's just gassing it off. When you gas off your tap water by using that method with a hose, you are going to gas off any free chlorine elements that are hopefully there. Not completely, but you will help, and it's better than doing nothing. However, there are purification systems that we can buy readily available on the market. I'll show you a few of them now, and I would always recommend, just to help remove some of the free chlorine and combined chlorine, which makes your total chlorine measure, as well as further things like traces of metals that we get in there, get traces of magnesium, maybe even traces of lead. Don't forget, tap water is safe for human consumption, but we don't live in tap water 24/7 as our environment. So if we think of tap water as air, when we're talking fish, it's their 24/7 environment that they live in. So if we think, if tap water was air being supplied and we were going to be breathing it 24/7, I would then question if it would still be fit for human life, sustainability. And the answer would probably be no. But of course, we're only drinking water, we're not living in it 24/7, and the air that we breathe is what we need for our vital sustainability to life. So with our fish, let's concentrate on what purification we can do with tap water to give them a better chance with the what's coming in. And as I say, first port of call, we can cover our ponds as well and prevent rainwater going in, and we're starting to get a real winner. Let's show some tap water purification methods that you can use. So here we are, filter house number 2. This was an extension I had to put on. So let's just open this up, and then hopefully I can show you in here some more filtration methods for your tap water as it's incoming. The first one, I'm going to just unhook this, excuse me for the freehand videoing here, but the first one is a 3-stage dechlor unit. Okay, simple. You've got a gubbin here where you can attach a hose pipe, it goes through the 3 stages of filtration and it comes out here, and then you can have that onto your ball cock and float system. You can see I've got my hose pipe attached here, that goes through, automatically tops up as to where that ball cock's fitted, and you can see from the side of the pond there I'm about just 1 inch below the surface of the pond, and I keep it at just that below 1 inch constantly by the use of the ball cock. It means I can leave my garden tap on permanently and it just automatically replaces water as it needs, and it's a slow trickle. Back to this, and I've just mentioned a slow trickle. You don't want your garden tap turned on full whack and blast full whack topping up your pond using one of these 3-stage dechlorinator systems, because they'll do absolutely nothing. It will just wash straight through the filters and you're taking everything with it. So if you're using one of these 3-stage dechlors, which you can readily get off the internet, and you'll find them in all your koi dealer shops like Quenny Koi, Penkoi if you're local to Stoke-on-Trent, Five Towns Koi, etc. You go to koi shows, they're always readily available on one person's stand or another. So, but there must be slow flow to work properly. You've got a paper cartridge there, you've got an activated carbon cartridge, and a sediment. So sediment in the middle and a carbon cartridge at the end. So you've got all 3. You can choose, you can get more expensive cartridges, and of course it's always about, you know, it's the more you spend, the better quality you get in, as long as you look what you're getting into there. But you can get a carbon cartridge that's really good. Your paper cartridges are about a £5, your sediment cartridge probably about 8-10 quid, and your carbon cartridge, as I say, vary. You can go spend 15-20 quid on a decent cartridge for the carbon part of it, but you've got to be slow. And as I say, I'd recommend, if you have not got one already, a little ball cock system. It'll just help you out there. What I'm using, I've just ditched that. I'll put it back on in the summer months when, again, feeding's heightened, which means that my drum might be doing a few more washes and I might need a bit more water intake. I might just add this feature back onto the Big Black that I'm now using. I say Big Black, can we see how it's quite big? But yeah, all the way down to the floor down there is this, and as you can see there, garden tap, and then out. That's filled with bone char carbon. Bone char carbon is probably the most expensive stuff that you can buy. It's £200 a sack, so let me not make out as it's cheap by any measure. And this is made by Spectrum, the Big Black, and I got the funnel that also you can buy separately, so it makes it dead easy to fill it with the bone char carbon out of the sack using the funnel, and bop, and away we go. So I find that dead useful. Ignore the double tempests I've got here, because that's actually for part of the filtration system with my air source heat pump that I've got here, and so that's already in line. But just from the tap, at the moment, over the winter months, since about last October, I've just had the Big Black running independently on its own. And then, as I say, as we come towards the summer months, and when I bang the heat up to 22C to begin with, that's when I shall plumb this back in as well, and have a garden tap running gently through here, out to the Big Black, all the way through there, out, slow trickle in, and I'll also plumb the UV on. I'll leave that off during winter months. I'll remove that picture out of the way. Yeah, I'll leave the UV off during the winter months, because it just, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, it serves no purpose whatsoever, because that is a summer months, sun beating down onto your pond, and you need the UV clarification to prevent that water greenness from occurring when you've got a large amount of sunlight hitting your water. It will go green without such things as a UV going on. I do admit that freely, but during winter months I just do not see any purpose for people leaving UVs on, and that's 55 watts that you're saving. So especially during winter months, it's a case of why not save. But yeah, for now, there's your Big Black. You might just be able to afford, depending on your budget, a 3-stage declaw. If that's what you can afford, then great, go for it. Do have one. One thing, if you've got it outside, these and a heavy freeze will freeze up solid and then burst. They'll split because of the water expansion when it turns to ice, and then you'll just knacker up your 3-stage. So if you've got one of those sort of exposed to the elements, be careful. I would take it indoors over the winter months, and if you know you're going to have like a real bad frost especially, then definitely get it indoors, or make sure it's well wrapped up if it's outside, to prevent it from freezing solid and then having the disaster of it's no good and in the bin. Okay, so that's the water incoming. That's how we can control a lot of the tap water elements, and as I say, with the activated bone char carbon and a big filter pod like this Spectrum Big Black, you can also get a Big Blue, etc. Find a Big Black's easier to fill up, to be honest with you, especially with the funnel that Spectrum supply separately that you can buy to go with it. So that's my preference. You can get those from Quenny Coy in One Lip, Nottinghamshire, and they're a brilliant tool. So yeah, that's your incoming water quality. That's what I would do. Let me just put you back on to the stand for a second so that I can, excuse the air source heat pump. Let's pop you back on there, and I can carry on waffling, although I've got nothing to waffle about. So really, I'll just close this filter house back up, and we're all good. So, roof over your pond of some description, just to stop the rainwater, is always going to be a good sort of thing to do. Purify your tap water that goes into your pond by whatever method you can afford, even if you are just gassing off as best as you can with the hose pipe, and like I say, get a jet going with that using your thumb. Up and over, it's a system I've heard of that's donkey's years old. You know, we were doing that in the 70s. And if you can afford any kind of purification, get that banged on as well, and it all helps since I've had the activated bone char and big black running on this. Superb. If I do my HANA check tests for combined chlorine, free chlorine and total chlorine, practically zero. It's an absolute dream. So happy koi keeping. One quick update from me. We discussed earlier about topping the pond up on a weekly basis, especially through the summer months when you're feeding, and that was, why do we need to top the water up with fresh water? In very basic and simple form, your water gets exhausted because of the fish living in it and of the sort of nutrients and minerals that they're going to absorb from that water, and so it becomes exhausted, for one of putting it in a very complex explanation to you. And therefore, by adding fresh water top-ups, we're actually putting fresh mineral content in with that fresh water, besides, of course, unless you are using some kind of a dechlor system or purification for your tap water, along with the minerals and vital elements that they'll need, including carbonate hardness, which is KH, which keeps a nice buffer for stabilising your pH, etc. The addition of fresh water is just that, it's discarding some of the exhausted water and replenishing the water that they are then in. Hope that makes sense. That's all for today's video. I do intend to do another video shortly to discuss extra equipment besides just a pond that I do find it. Thank you, George. Yes, that was my hand. Extra equipment besides have some food. Extra equipment besides some. I'm being attacked by the fish here. Extra equipment besides just having the pond itself, such as a quarantine facility or a hospital tank, which is an absolute necessity in certain situations. And it's always a case I see various different owners where I'll say to them, you've got a fish with dropsy, you need to get it into a quarantine tank where you can add salt to a 0.9% solution of salinity content, and that will give it every chance of recovering and surviving dropsy, you know. But if you've only got your pond and that's it, you're going to be back against the wall, and you don't want to be dosing your whole pond with salt for one fish out of several dozen that might have a problem. So, stuff for another video, and I'll be back soon. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you've not already, please subscribe and please like. Thank you.